So now we have our dialog where it actually gives us the quest. We can start reacting to the fact that you actually completed the quest or not. So basically that means we have to check if you picked up the apple or not. So let's open up our item list again and look for our apple. Now it's called Zars Demo Jack Apple. Now when you pick up an item in game, a message will be generated and sent to Osiris, so we can react to that. Now the way you react to those things is with what we call rules. And a rule is basically, it's very similar to the condition parts of the dialog nodes that we just saw. It's going to be a collection of conditions, and if all those conditions are met, it's going to execute whatever script that's attached to it. The way you define those rules is with an if and a then. Now in the if, you're going to put your conditions in between the if and the then, and after the then you're going to put your actual scripting that you want. Now when you pick up a global item, at least you'll get a message for it, and this message is the item added to character message. So you can see here at the top it's going to be purple, which means it's an event or a message. And you see here at the top here what it has as extra information, because every message or event that you get will carry, well, not all of them, but most will carry some extra information, so you can decide if you're interested or not. In this case, it takes an item and a character. Now we are only interested in Jack's apple, so we'll just enter Zars Demo Jack Apple here, and then it takes a character. And at the moment, we don't really care who picks it up, so we'll just put an underscore here. Now this will need a bit of explaining. So when you get the message item added to a character and it's sent to Osiris, it's gonna check all the rules it has in its script, so all the if-then blocks, and it's gonna check if the extra information fields here, the parameters between parentheses, are gonna match or not. So this rule here, the item that we just wrote down, is only gonna be executed if the item here that was passed along with it is in fact our apple. And we have an underscore here for the character extra information field, which tells Osiris that we don't care. It could be any character. We simply don't care. Now, then we have a then, and we can react to the fact that you picked up the apple. Now we want to communicate that to his dialog, of course, so he's going to react. When you picked up the apple, he's going to say like, oh, you have my apple. And I told you already that we did that with flags. We have those in Osiris, so we can set them. They're called slightly different though, but they're the same thing. They're called global events. These are the global flags that I told you about. And we have a call to do that. And it's going to be global set event. And you can see it's a call, and it takes a string, which is the name of the flag. So I'm just gonna open and close the quotes and add the semicolon, because we're in the then part here. Like the conditions don't need a semicolon, but the then part needs a semicolon. So don't forget this, guys. Don't put it here, because this also will generate an error. Now the global events, we give them logical names, the same deal as the local flags actually, but they should be unique in this case, because if you use a flag for more than one quest, it's going to give you problems if they're going to start interacting. So we'll call this Osiris Demo as Apple, prefixing it with our mod name again. So I've actually used a call here because Osiris can receive messages, but it can also send messages. Like a call here basically means we're sending a message, the global set event message, to the game with some extra information, and that's this string here that's between the parentheses. So basically, to recap, when we get a message from the game that we picked up the apple, we're gonna send a message to the game to set this global flag with the Osiris demo underscore has apple name. Now, we can check on this in the dialog then. Well, let's build first, see if we have any mistakes. We don't need to generate definitions since we didn't add any new globals. So we're just gonna build here. Normally, as you get more experience with the scripting, you wouldn't build and have to wait after every single thing you script. But for now, it's a good way to make sure that you didn't make any typos or mistakes. So we have a success. So I'm gonna hit OK here. Now we're gonna go back to the dialog so we can check on the flag here. So we have the recent files here, we have our dialog here, we have our quest node. Now, we just set a global event, which is a global flag in the dialog designer. I know it's a bit confusing with the different naming. So we can react to that. So we're gonna add a new text again. But this time we'll give it a condition. We'll give it two actually. We'll give it a condition that he needs to have given you the quest first. Let's put it to true for a change, so you know that's also possible. And we'll give it another condition that the global event is actually set, the global flag. And we check that with the this flag call. So we have to go back to the story editor now. I'm gonna copy the name. Because it's easy to make typos in these things, it's best to just outright copy them from one to another. Oh, I opened our dialog twice here, I see. So we open the quotes again. We add in, close the quotes, we add in our name. And we have a boolean, which we're gonna put to true as well. And now we have our two conditions. So we're gonna check if the gave apple quest local flag is true, and if the Osiris demo has apple global flag is true. So of course we just put the conditions, we still need to check them. We do this with the check again. We're gonna have two again, so we want true and true. Because we only want this node to show up when this one is true and this one is true. So then he's gonna say, oh good, you found it. Now, in the dialog designer, you can also send global events or global flags to Osiris. And that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna set a flag, a global flag. We're gonna give it a name. Osiris demo delivered apple. And we're gonna set it to true. The reason we're gonna do this is because when we talk to him with the apple, it's gonna want to take the apple back. And this is something that will need to be done from Osiris. And the only way a dialog can communicate with Osiris is by setting flags. Global flags or character flags. Character flags will be discussed in a bit. So we set our global flag here. Osiris demo delivered apple. And Osiris is gonna get the message and we're gonna react to it. But first of all, let's change a couple of the conditions here, because This one, let's move it up as well for the same reason. This is in case we have the apple already and we go talk to him. Before we accepted the quest, you would get both, which would be a bit weird. So we're gonna give this one another condition so we don't get it if we actually have the apple. So I'm gonna copy this. And we're gonna add a not C. So this condition is gonna be, is the local flag false? Is the global flag Ozar's demo has apple true? And we only want this when it's not false, this one, so it's true. And if this one isn't true. So basically we only want this line when we got the quest, but we haven't gotten the apple yet. Because if we had got the apple, this one would be true, and this part is gonna fail here. So that looks okay. I'm gonna double check everything. If you have the quest and you have the apple, you get this. And if we have the quest, we don't have the apple, we get this. So that looks okay to me. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna close it. We set our event here. So first off, let's try this in game already. So we built already. Gonna go back to game mode by hitting escape. And we're have to wait a bit here. Because every time you build story, it's going to be new story, so it has to reinitialize again. So I'm walking around, I can talk to him. I'm Jack, I'm get the quest. Can get my apple if you don't mind. Talk to him again. Did you find it yet? It's all correct. Let's go get the apple, which was near the well. Maybe not the best spot. There it is. We picked up the apple now, so now the global event will have been set. Go back to Jack. And let's talk to him. Hit quest. Oh good, you found it. Thanks so much. So that seems to be working. So basically, we picked up the apple, brought it back to him, and he can react to it. Let's get back to our story editor, because now we want to react to the global event that we set. And this is the old one, and we'll close this. Let's open up our dialog. So this is the event that we set here. So I'm gonna copy this already. Because actually, when you check now in game, you'll notice that Jack's apple is still in my inventory, even though I supposedly gave it to him. So we're gonna do something about that. I'm gonna go back to the story editor. Now when a global flag or event is set from a dialog, or from anywhere else for that matter, from story as well, we get another message for that. So we're gonna react to that with another rule. So we're gonna do if, and our then. And the message for global events or flags is if global event set. So when it's set, that means the value is true. We'll get this if you set it to false. We'll get the global event cleared event. That's we only want the set now. So again, you see it's an event, and it takes a string as a parameter here. So that's the extra information. We're only interested in this one, the one we set in the dialog. So when Ozars gets this global event set message, it's going to check every rule in the story, and it's going to match the extra information with what's put in here. And if we get the message for the delivered apple one, it's going to check, delivered apple, we're interested in this one. We're going to process this. Again, notice I copied the event name here because it's very easy to have a typo here. It won't show up as an error in your script, but it won't work. So what we do now is we want to take the apple away from the player. So we have a call for that with an item to character. That's a call where you give it an item, which is going to be our Osiris demo jack apple. And again, notice the item underscore in front of this to indicate that it's an item. If you would fill in a character here, like Osiris demo jack, for example, you would get an error when you try to compile it. And we want to give it to Jack, so which is a character. I can type it all out if you want. Osiris demo Jack. So we close it, and we have our semicolon at the end because we're in the then part, so we need to. Now, so what this bit is going to do is, when this event is set from the dialog, the apple will be moved from whoever has it to Jack. So it's going to be in Jack's inventory. So let's build this and try it in game. Which gives me another opportunity to have some water. Almost there. There we go. Build successful. Let's minimize this. Go back to game. Remember, we built stories, so we have a new story, which basically means we have to start again. So pick up the apple and go talk to him. Things like that. So here we are again in game mode. Let's go over here, pick up the apple, which has been put back. This is a good way to test if we didn't make any mistakes and if our dialog is going to work as we expect it to. So talk to him, request, can you get my apple if you don't mind? And talk to him again, request, oh good, you found it, thanks so much, leave. So the dialog worked. Let's see if our apple is gone. Yes, no more apple. It is in Jack's inventory. So now we pretty much have a basic fetch quest going on, but that's a bit boring. So let's spice it up a bit and let's add some triggers.